This is what life was like inside a Viking Longhouse, the building that served as the heart of every Viking settlement across Scandinavia. Every single aspect of life was lived out under one roof. Here's what it looked like. Viking architecture isn't as well known as their art, weapons, or ships. That's partly because there weren't many buildings left standing after 1,000 years of weathering and human activity. But thanks to archaeological excavations and written accounts by medieval chroniclers, we can reconstruct a good portion of what life was like inside a Viking longhouse. Every longhouse was different depending on the wealth of the family living there, their location, and their craft. And some were grander than others. The longhouse featured in today's video represents an average wealthy farmer, his home in the 9th and 10th century, but also serves as a reflection of the typical social structure of each settlement. In the center of the house, right when you walk in, you would be met with the central hearth, literally the heart of the longhouse. The fire was kept burning constantly, so the house would be filled with warmth and light during the day and night. Food was cooked on a large flat rock surface set into the hearth, or hung over the fire by chains. Smoke would escape from the hearth through a hole in the roof called the smoke hole, staining the ceiling over time and giving it a black color. This hole doubled as a skylight and ventilation shaft, and the amount of smoke permeating through the longhouse was important for keeping evil spirits away. The more smoke, the better. If the weather allowed, the doors of the longhouse would remain open during the day so that the wind could carry the smoke away. But when winds were rough, they could become a nuisance. For a Viking family, the smoke would sting their eyes, fill their homes with ash and blanket the settlement in a thick haze. So, villagers would hang special wet cloths from their eaves to catch the smoke. The central hearth was much more than just a source of heat and light. It was a defining feature of Viking culture. The fire acted as the backbone of the community, bringing everyone together around its warm glow. It was in front of the hearth that communal meals were eaten and stories were told, and it was around the hearth that decisions regarding trade, law, and customs were made. The fire had to be tended to constantly, so it fell to both men and women to make sure that it never went out. At either end of the longhouse were the gables. Each longhouse had an east gable and a west gable. The east gable was considered the most sacred part of the longhouse, and it was here that the family's religious altar would be placed. The head of the household would sleep in the east gable, and it was common for this area to be slightly raised above the rest of the room, giving the impression of a private space within a public one. The head of the household held the most power in the home and in the community. He was responsible for the safety of everyone in his home, as well as his family's legal and financial affairs. In some instances, a longhouse could have up to 4 separate sleeping areas within the east gable, giving extra privacy to the eldest male and his wife, the parents and their adult children, and any visiting relatives. Meanwhile, the west gable was the most utilitarian area of the longhouse. This is where the family would store their livestock during the winter, as well as their tools and equipment. A large door would be situated in the west gable so that animals could come and go easily. The arrangement of the longhouse with livestock in the west end and humans in the east makes sense when you consider how Vikings viewed the world. They believed that their homes were temporary and that the earth itself was holy. To them, the earth was a dwelling place of ancestral spirits and a pathway to the underworld. So the dirtiest parts of the longhouse were closest to the underworld, while the holiest parts were closest to the heavens. This attention to detail and respect for the spiritual realm permeated many aspects of Viking culture. Running along both sides of the longhouse, raised off the ground, were bench beds. These were used for sitting, eating, working, and sleeping. During the day, they provided seating for the residents and guests. At night, they were covered with blankets and used as beds. Because the longhouse was shared by the entire family, having elevated beds gave everyone their own personal space to retreat to when necessary. Some of the bench beds would have storage underneath them for personal belongings or important household items. In the middle of the longhouse, holding up the roof structure, were pillar posts. These were sometimes ornate and intricately carved, representing the bones of the house. They would be installed deep into the ground during construction to ensure stability. Some posts were reused throughout the life of the longhouse, being moved around as needed. These pillars not only supported the roof, but also helped define the space within the longhouse. Built into the walls of the longhouse were storage areas for tools, food, and valuables. Wealthier households might use chests to store silver and other precious items. These storage spaces were also used to store weapons and armor, creating a sense of protection and readiness for the head of the household and his male family members. This preparedness was key to Viking culture, who were known for their skill in battle and exploration. Even when they were far from the battlefield or the open sea, Vikings always felt the need to be ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. In addition to the longhouse, Viking settlements typically included workshops, granaries, meeting halls, and occasionally a place of worship. The layout and size of a settlement varied depending on its function. Some were small and focused on farming, while others were larger and served as trading hubs or centers of local government. Here's what a day in the life of Eric the Red's house might look like in the year 970 in the settlement of Eiríksstaðir in Iceland. 5 a.m. Theodhildr wakes up in the east gable of the longhouse, careful not to disturb the slumbering forms of her children. Outside, the first light of dawn filters through the smoke hole, painting the rafters with hues of rose and gold. As the mother of 2 boys, Eric and Leif, she knows that the day will be filled with tasks, but first she must awaken the fire that has smoldered through the night. With gentle hands, she stirs the embers, coaxing them back to life. The hearth, the heart of their longhouse, must never die. Its flames provide warmth and light, warding off the darkness that lingers even in the heart of summer. As the fire catches, filling the longhouse with a comforting glow, she begins preparing the morning meal. Over the crackling flames, she simmers a simple porridge made from barley and dried fish, the staple of their diet. The aroma soon mingles with the scent of wood smoke, creating a comforting familiarity that speaks of home and hearth. Beside her, a small silver pendant hangs from her belt, depicting Freya, the goddess of love and fertility. It's a reminder of the feminine energy that binds this home. 7 m.o.m. The sounds of awakening fill the longhouse. Servants and thralls, those who work the land for wages or as part of an agreement, tend to the livestock quartered in the west end of the longhouse, the cows, sheep, and goats that provide milk, wool, and warmth during Iceland's harsh winters. Meanwhile, her sons, Eric and Leif, help with simple tasks, grinding grain, mending nets, or practicing with small bows. They are growing into young men, learning the skills they will need to uphold their status and contribute to the household's prosperity. Now, from the privacy of the east gable, Eric emerges. As the head of the household, he holds the most prestigious space in their longhouse. His domain is characterized by tools and weapons hanging from the walls, his axe, his sea axe knife, his repaired fishing nets. Today, he will work on expanding the farm's boundary walls, a task that requires strength and skill. He glances at the sturdy pillars that hold up the roof. They are not just pieces of wood, but the bones of his house, anchoring it to the earth and providing shelter for his family. Each groove and crevice in the aged wood tells a story of countless seasons, of storms endured and sunlight embraced. They stand as silent witnesses to the ebb and flow of time. As the day progresses, the longhouse comes alive with activity. Traders from Norway and the British Isles might visit during the summer trading season, and Eric would host them in his longhouse, displaying his wealth through elaborate feasts. His wife, Theodhildr, would oversee the preparation of food and drink, ensuring that everything is perfect for their guests. Meanwhile, Eric would negotiate deals for walrus ivory, which he would trade for silver and luxury goods. It's a chance to showcase not only their prosperity, but also the bounty of the land they call home. As the sun begins its descent, casting long shadows across the longhouse, the family gathers for the evening meal. The central hearth crackles merrily, casting dancing shadows on the faces of those gathered around. Children sit at the feet of their parents, listening intently to tales of adventure and bravery. The adults discuss the day's events, sharing news and laughter. In this intimate setting, bonds are strengthened and memories are forged. After the meal, as darkness falls, the family retires to their bench beds. The longhouse slowly quiets down, leaving behind the warmth of the hearth and the echoes of laughter. The silence is peaceful, broken only by the gentle crackling of the fire. Outside, the first stars begin to appear in the inky expanse of the night sky, each twinkling point of light a silent witness to the lives unfolding within the longhouse walls. Inside the longhouse, dreams begin to take flight, carrying the family on journeys as boundless as the imagination itself. Thank you for watching. If you want to learn more about Viking history, check out the series in the description below. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe.